Some places were never meant to be visited. They exist beyond comfort, beyond maps designed for tourism lands, where color behaves unnaturally, where stone bends like liquid, where water burns, freezes, or vanishes without warning. These are not destinations built for memory cards or itineraries. They are limits. Before satellites traced every contour, before roads learned how to climb mountains and pierce deserts, Earth shaped regions that resist familiarity. In these places, geography does not welcome the human body. It tolerates it briefly. Here, waterfalls fall into voids deeper than cities are tall. Lakes change color without seasons or reason. Deserts freeze. Volcanoes breathe continuously, not in eruptions, but in rhythm, day after day, century after century. Some landscapes glow red from iron and acid. Others are silent, so high and thin that breath itself becomes a calculation. Isolation is not an accident in these regions. It is preservation. Distance protects ecosystems found nowhere else on the planet. Plants that evolved alone. Animals confined to a single mountain. Microbes thriving where life should not exist. In many of these places, myth arrived long before science, not as superstition, but as an early attempt to explain environments that felt alive, watchful, and dangerous. As human presence fades, natural structure takes control. Cliffs become walls, water becomes force, altitude becomes pressure. Every step is conditional. Every movement reminds you that survival here is temporary permission, not a right. This journey is not about reaching landmarks. It is about approaching boundaries, geological, biological, and physical, where the planet stops adapting to us. These are the impossible places, not because they cannot be seen, but because they were never designed for us to stay. Carved directly into the rocky coastline of Thasos Island, Jola Lagoon does not resemble a typical natural pool. From above, it appears precise, almost intentional, as if the sea paused mid-motion and solidified into geometry. Its near-rectangular basin is entirely sculpted from stone, separated from the open Aegean by a narrow rock barrier that allows waves to spill in only when conditions align. The lagoon exists in a state of controlled exposure. During calm seas, its surface remains still, glassy, and unnaturally clear. Sunlight penetrates straight through the water, revealing the pale stone floor beneath, sharp-edged and clean, with no sediment to soften its shape. When waves rise, sea water surges over the rock lip, briefly reconnecting the lagoon to the surrounding ocean, before retreating again, resetting the system without erasing its form. What makes Giolla feel unreal is not scale, but containment. The surrounding cliffs rise between 6 and 26 feet, enclosing the basin like natural walls. There are no gradual shores, no sand, no gentle entry. The landscape offers a single message: access here is conditional. Visitors must descend over uneven rock, navigating a rugged coastal trail that filters out casual movement. The terrain itself regulates how many people arrive and how long they stay. The water's color shifts subtly throughout the day. In early light, it leans toward emerald green. By midday, it deepens into a saturated blue. As the sun lowers, darker tones emerge, reflecting the surrounding stone rather than the sky. These changes are not dramatic, but they are constant, reinforcing the sense that the lagoon is active, responsive, and watching its own boundaries. Local tradition treats Giolla as more than a geological coincidence. Folklore attributes its formation to divine presence, describing it as a private bathing pool created by the gods. While science explains its structure through erosion and wave action over millennia, the persistence of myth speaks to something else: the way the site resists being reduced to explanation alone. Giolla Lagoon is not vast, it is not violent, it does not overwhelm through force. Instead, it unsettles through precision, a reminder that nature does not always express itself through chaos. Sometimes, it builds something so exact that it feels deliberate. Along the northeastern edge of Tasmania, the Bay of Fires stretches quietly for miles, yet nothing about it feels ordinary. From a distance, the coastline appears calm, white sand, clear water, and gentle surf. But as you draw closer, the illusion breaks. Massive granite boulders line the shore, their surfaces stained in vivid shades of orange, red, and rust, as if the land itself was slowly burning. This color is not paint nor mineral. It comes from lichen, a living organism that thrives, where air is clean and human impact is minimal. Over centuries, it has spread across the rock faces, transforming neutral stone into something that looks deliberately colored. Against the intense blue of the Tasman Sea and the near-white sand, the contrast feels exaggerated, almost artificial, like a landscape oversaturated beyond reality. The effect changes constantly. In strong sunlight, the sand reflects so much light that the entire beach seems to glow. On overcast days, the rocks deepen into darker reds and burnt orange tones, giving the coastline a heavier, more ancient mood. At dawn and dusk, the colors soften, and the boundary between land and sea blurs into gradients that feel more painted than natural. Despite its visual intensity, Bay of Fires is remarkably quiet. There are no towering resorts pressing against the shore, no dense urban skyline. The absence of vertical structures preserves the horizon, allowing the landscape to dominate without interruption. Wildlife moves freely here. Kangaroos are often seen near the beaches in early morning, while seabirds circle low over the water. Wombats occasionally wander close to the sand, indifferent to the presence of observers. What makes Bay of Fires feel impossible is not danger or scale, but purity. The environment looks curated, yet nothing here is arranged for display. Wind, salt, sunlight, and time alone have composed the scene. The rocks were not shaped to impress. The colors were not meant to signal beauty. They are simply the result of conditions aligning over thousands of years. Recognized by National Geographic as one of the world's most beautiful coastlines, Bay of Fires stands as a reminder that some of Earth's most unreal landscapes emerge not from extremes, but from restraint, places where nature is allowed to finish its work without interruption. Reached by a narrow coastal trail or by water, the landscape withholds its defining feature until the final approach. Then, without warning, the rock opens. A massive natural arch rises from the cliffline, tall and symmetrical enough to resemble deliberate construction. Its curved ceiling frames the ocean beyond, transforming the open sea into a contained view, one that shifts constantly with light, tide, and weather. The stone is pale, smoothed by millions of years of marine erosion and marked by subtle layers that record its slow formation beneath ancient seas. The beach beneath the arch is unusually calm. Fine white sand absorbs sound, muting footsteps and waves alike. During low tide, the water retreats far enough to expose shallow rock shelves and tidal pools, turning the shoreline into a temporary passageway. At high tide, the sea advances, narrowing the space and restoring the arch's role as a threshold rather than an entrance. What distinguishes Cathedral Cove is not its isolation, but its alignment. Light passes cleanly through the arch at certain hours, illuminating the sand with a soft, reflected glow. The scene feels staged, balanced in proportion, uncluttered by debris, free of sharp edges. Yet nothing here was arranged. The symmetry is accidental, the result of consistent wave pressure acting along a single weakness in the cliff face over vast spans of time. Beyond the arch, smaller caves punctuate the coastline, their interiors shaped by the same forces but left incomplete. These secondary spaces reinforce the sense that Cathedral Cove is not unique because it is rare, but because it is finished. Erosion elsewhere continues. Here, it paused at a moment of clarity. The cove's visual harmony has made it a frequent setting for film, most notably as a gateway scene in the Chronicles of Narnia. But cinematic recognition only echoes what the landscape already conveys. This is a place that reads intuitively as a passage between land and sea, exposure and shelter, movement and stillness. Cathedral Cove does not challenge the human body. It does not demand endurance or risk. Instead, it unsettles through composure. The environment feels complete, as if nothing could be added without disrupting its balance. In a world defined by constant alteration, Cathedral Cove stands as a reminder that some landscapes achieve a form so precise it feels permanent, even as the tide continues to erase and redraw its edges. Rising abruptly from the flat wheat belt of Western Australia, Wave Rock appears less like a landform and more like a frozen moment. A massive stone wall curves upward and inward, its shape identical to a breaking ocean wave, except here there is no sea, no wind, and no motion. The wave never crashes, it simply holds. The formation stretches over 360 feet in length and reaches nearly 50 feet in height. Its surface is smooth, polished by time rather than water, with long vertical streaks running down its face. These lines are not decorative. They are mineral stains, dark and light bands, created as rainwater slowly dissolved chemicals from the rock and carried them downward over thousands of years. Each streak marks repetition. Each layer records patience. Wave rock is estimated to be around 2.7 billion years old, formed from granite deep beneath the Earth's surface before being exposed by erosion. What gives it its wave-like curve is not a single dramatic event, but relentless subtlety. Temperature changes caused the rock to expand and contract. Moisture weakened its base. Gravity completed the work. Over time, the lower sections eroded faster than the top, bending the stone inward until it resembled motion carved into permanence. The surrounding landscape amplifies the illusion. The terrain is flat and open, offering no visual competition. With no mountains or cliffs nearby, the wave dominates the horizon entirely, appearing larger than it truly is. From certain angles, it feels detached from the ground, as if the land rose briefly to imitate the sea. Despite its dramatic form, the environment is quiet. Wind moves freely across the plains. The rock absorbs sound rather than reflecting it. Standing at its base, scale becomes difficult to judge. The wave does not overwhelm through height or danger. Instead, it disorients through familiarity. The human mind recognizes the shape instantly, but cannot reconcile it with the setting. For indigenous communities, wave rock has long held cultural significance, tied to ancestral stories that explain its presence as the work of ancient beings shaping the land. These narratives coexist with geological explanation, not in conflict, but in parallel, two ways of acknowledging that this place exceeds simple description. Wave rock feels impossible, not because it defies physics, but because it imitates something transient using stone. It captures motion without movement, and in doing so, it reveals how time, when given enough patience, can make even the most fleeting forms permanent. Capitol Reef National Park does not announce itself with a single monument. Its power lies in structure, quiet, immense, and stretched across the landscape like a fault in perception. At its core is the Water Pocket Fold, a nearly 100-mile-long wrinkle in Earth's crust, formed between 50 and 70 million years ago, when tectonic pressure bent layers of rock upward without breaking them. This fold is not a canyon, not a ridge, and not a mountain range. It is a continuous geological sentence written across the desert, where sandstone cliffs, domes, and narrow corridors align along a single axis. From the ground, the terrain feels directional, as if movement itself is being guided by the rock. Routes narrow unexpectedly. Walls rise without warning. The land does not invite wandering, it channels it. Despite its desert classification, Capitol Reef resists the idea of dryness as emptiness. Seasonal storms briefly activate the landscape. Rain fills shallow depressions carved into the stone, natural basins known as water pockets, before evaporating again. For a short time, the desert reflects the sky. Then the water disappears, leaving no trace except darker rock and memory. Human presence here is subtle but revealing. In the historic Fruita district, fruit orchards grow improbably beneath red cliffs, apples, peaches, apricots, and cherries, sustained by irrigation systems adapted to scarcity. These cultivated pockets feel fragile, temporary, and deeply aware of their surroundings. Agriculture survives here not by altering the land, but by negotiating with it. What separates Capitol Reef from more famous American parks is absence. Fewer visitors arrive, roads are longer, silence is easier to find. Without crowds or spectacle, the geological scale becomes harder to ignore. The rock layers stack visibly cream, rust, ochre, each marking a former seabed, desert, or river system long erased. In spring and early summer, the contrast sharpens further. Thousands of wildflowers bloom across terrain that appears at first glance lifeless. Color erupts briefly, then fades, reinforcing the sense that nothing here is permanent. Not water, not vegetation, not access. Capital Reef feels impossible because it does not perform, it does not compress itself into a single view or iconic shape. Instead, it unfolds slowly, insisting on time and attention. The landscape is not hostile, but it is indifferent. And in that indifference, it reveals a deeper truth. The desert is not empty, it is precise. At the center of Australia lies a desert, defined not by emptiness, but by repetition. The Simpson Desert stretches across the continent's interior as a vast field of parallel sand dunes, thousands of them aligned with such precision that from the air they resemble deliberate design rather than chance. Many of these dunes extend for more than 90 miles, making this the longest continuous system of parallel dunes on Earth. The sand here is intensely red, its color driven by high concentrations of iron oxide that stain every grain. Under direct sunlight, the desert glows. At dawn and dusk, the red softens into deep amber and rust, flattening shadows and erasing depth. Distance becomes difficult to judge. The land appears both endless and compressed, as if scale itself is unreliable. Movement through the Simpson is slow and conditional. Dunes rise and fall in long, uniform waves, forcing any journey to cross ridge after ridge with no variation in direction. There are no landmarks to orient by, no mountains, no trees, no rivers. Navigation depends on instruments and experience, not intuition. A wrong turn does not lead somewhere else. It leads deeper into the same. The climate reinforces this isolation. Summer temperatures regularly exceed survivable limits, while winter nights can drop sharply, draining heat from the body. Water sources are rare and temporary. When rain does arrive, it transforms sections of the desert into brief wetlands, drawing birds and life from nowhere, only for the surface to dry again, restoring silence. What sets the Simpson Desert apart is not just its harshness, but its order. Unlike chaotic dune fields elsewhere, this system maintains structure over enormous distances. Wind patterns have locked the landscape into a stable arrangement that resists change, shifting slowly over centuries rather than seasons. At night, the desert reveals its final layer. With virtually no light pollution, the sky becomes dominant. The Milky Way cuts across the darkness, with clarity rarely seen elsewhere, reasserting scale not of land, but of space. In these hours, the desert feels less like a place and more like a pause, where human presence becomes incidental. The Simpson Desert is not dramatic in the way mountains or volcanoes are. It does not rise or erupt. Instead, it overwhelms through consistency. Nothing interrupts it. Nothing breaks its pattern. And in that unbroken repetition, it reminds us that isolation does not require distance from civilization, only terrain that refuses to acknowledge it. Along the coast of the Sea of Japan, in a country defined by mountains, forests, and dense cities, the Tottori sand dunes feel like a geographical contradiction, stretching for nearly 10 miles along the shoreline and reaching widths of more than a mile in places. This is Japan's largest dune system, an expanse of shifting sand where none seems logically expected. The dunes rise and fall in smooth, wind-carved ridges, some reaching heights of over 150 feet, comparable to a 15-story building. Their surface is fine and pale, constantly reshaped by strong coastal winds blowing in from the sea. Unlike inland deserts, these dunes exist in direct dialogue with water. Waves crash only a short distance away, and salt-laden air sweeps uninterrupted across the sand, erasing footprints almost as soon as they appear. What makes Tottori truly surreal is its seasonal instability. In summer, the dunes behave like a classic desert, hot, bright, and blinding under the sun. But in winter, snowfall can blanket the sand in white, creating a scene where desert and snow coexist in the same frame. Dark ripples form beneath the snowpack, revealing the contours of dunes frozen temporarily in place. It is one of the few landscapes on Earth where sand, sea, and snow intersect so directly. The dunes themselves are not ancient relics. They are continuously renewed by sediment, carried from nearby rivers, and redistributed by wind and tide. This ongoing process prevents the landscape from settling into permanence. Nothing here is fixed, not shape, not height, not path. Orientation becomes difficult as crests shift subtly and familiar reference points vanish between visits. Despite their size, the dunes are remarkably quiet. Sound dissipates quickly in the sand, leaving only wind and distant surf. The openness creates a sense of exposure rather than threat, as if the land is empty but attentive. Human figures crossing the ridges appear small and temporary, momentary interruptions in a system that resets itself daily. Totori sand dunes feel impossible, not because they are extreme, but because they exist out of context. In a nation defined by order and density, this landscape refuses structure. It is fluid, unstable, and unconcerned, with fitting expectations, an inland echo of the sea, translated into sand. High in Pakistan's Gilgit-Baltistan region, the Safaranga cold desert exists as a geographic paradox. Deserts are expected to burn. Here, they freeze. Sitting at an elevation of approximately 7,500 feet above sea level, Safaranga defies the conventional image of arid landscapes, maintaining cold temperatures even during summer months. The desert's surface is composed of fine, pale sand, of white to light gray in color, stretching across a wide valley framed by snow-capped mountains. This contrast is immediate and disorienting. One moment, the eye registers a classic desert plain. The next, it is anchored by glaciers and alpine peaks rising sharply in the background. The environment feels split between two climates that should not coexist. Unlike hot deserts shaped primarily by heat and dryness, Safaranga is governed by altitude and wind. Thin air limits vegetation growth, while persistent cold prevents organic matter from accumulating. The result is a landscape stripped to its simplest elements: sand, rock, sky. Footprints remain visible longer here, not erased by heat shimmer, but preserved by cooler ground. Seasonal change behaves differently as well. Summer brings brief windows of accessibility when temperatures allow movement without immediate risk. Winter, however, transforms the desert into a near-static environment. Cold intensifies, winds sharpen, travel becomes slow and deliberate, dictated by exposure rather than distance. Survival here is less about endurance and more about timing. Despite its severity, Safaranga is not lifeless. Sparse grasses and hardy shrubs cling to the margins, while nearby communities have adapted to the conditions over generations. In recent years, the desert has also become a site for controlled extreme sports activities, off-road racing, dirt biking, paragliding, each carefully limited by weather and terrain. These brief intrusions highlight how narrow the margin for human presence truly is. Every August, the region hosts a cold desert festival, drawing attention to both tourism and cultural heritage. Yet even during these moments of activity, the land retains its dominance. Events feel temporary, layered over a system that does not respond or adjust. Safaranga feels impossible because it violates expectation. Sand should radiate heat, deserts should stretch under burning skies. Here, the ground remains cool, the air thin, and the silence heavy. It is a reminder that geography does not follow human categories, only conditions. Fort Monroe rises above the plains of southern Punjab as a sudden shift in elevation, climate, and perception. Situated at approximately 6,470 feet above sea level in the Sulayman mountain range, the hill station feels detached from the desert below, separated not by distance, but by temperature and air. The ascent alone signals transition. Roads tighten into sharp curves, cliffs fall away without warning, and the landscape steadily abandons softness. Unlike crowded mountain retreats, Fort Monroe remains largely untouched by mass tourism. Development is minimal. Settlements are sparse. The terrain maintains a raw quality, where rock formations, deep ravines, and exposed slopes dominate the view. Vegetation thins as altitude increases, replaced by bare stone and scattered shrubs adapted to dry, wind-exposed conditions. The environment here is defined by edge, The land drops sharply into gorges carved over millions of years by erosion and tectonic movement. From the ridgelines, visibility extends far across the surrounding lowlands, creating an unsettling sense of height without enclosure. There are no dense forests to soften the view, no continuous canopy to block wind or sound. Space remains open, exposed, and uncompromising. Light behaves differently at this elevation. Daytime clarity is sharp, revealing sedimentary rock layers that trace the geological history of the region. At night, the absence of urban illumination transforms the sky. With minimal light pollution, stars appear in dense concentrations, and the Milky Way becomes a dominant feature rather than a background detail. The darkness feels complete, pressing in rather than fading away. Fort Monroe carries a colonial-era name, but its significance extends beyond history. Geologists value the area for its visible stratification and fault lines, which provide insight into the uplift of the Suleiman Range. These formations reveal how slow, persistent pressure reshaped the landscape long before human observation. Recent infrastructure development has made access easier, but it has not altered the land's character. The region resists domestication. Roads end, signals weaken, weather shifts quickly, especially in the evening, when temperatures drop and wind strengthens along the ridges. Fort Monroe feels impossible, not because it is extreme, but because it exists in transition between desert and mountain, heat and cold, accessibility and isolation. It is a reminder that altitude alone can redraw the rules of environment, turning familiar terrain into something quietly alien. At the northeastern edge of Tenerife, the Anaga Mountains rise abruptly from the Atlantic, forming one of the oldest landscapes in the Canary Islands. Shaped by volcanic activity more than 7 million years ago, this region preserves geological structures that have largely vanished elsewhere: steep ridges, knife-edge valleys, and slopes that seem to fold inward rather than expand. What defines Anaga is not height, but age and survival. Moist trade winds from the ocean are forced upward by the mountains, condensing into persistent cloud cover that drapes the peaks in mist. This constant humidity sustains ancient laurel forests, remnants of ecosystems that once covered much of southern Europe millions of years ago, before climate shifts erased them almost entirely. Here, they endured. Within these forests, time feels suspended. Trees are twisted and low-branching, their trunks coated in thick moss and lichen. Roots spread across the surface. Instead of burrowing deep, gripping rock for stability, light filters through unevenly, diffused by fog rather than blocked by canopy, creating a muted green glow that softens edges and distances. Sound behaves differently as well. Wind is absorbed. Footsteps dull quickly. The forest feels insulated from the outside world. Isolation has allowed life to specialize. The Anaga region supports hundreds of endemic species, plants, and animals, found nowhere else on Earth. Many exist within extremely narrow ecological ranges, dependent on the precise balance of moisture, temperature, and altitude maintained by the mountains. This fragility is why large sections of Anaga are protected, with development tightly restricted. Movement through the terrain is slow and deliberate. Roads cling to ridgelines, narrowing into single-lane passages where cliffs fall away sharply on either side. Villages appear unexpectedly, perched on slopes that seem barely capable of supporting human presence. Access is possible, but never effortless. The landscape dictates pace. Unlike more dramatic volcanic zones on Tenerife, Anaga does not confront with force. There are no lava fields or smoking craters. Instead, it unsettles through persistence, a reminder of what the island once was, preserved in fragments, while the rest evolved or disappeared. The Anaga Mountains feel impossible because they are not just scenery, they are a biological archive, a living record of a climate and ecosystem that should no longer exist. In a modern world shaped by acceleration, Anaga endures by resisting change quietly, completely, and on its own terms. Hidden deep within the rugged interior of Sulawesi, Lake Pisupok remains largely absent from conventional maps of tourism. Its isolation is not accidental. Steep cliffs, dense vegetation, and limited access routes have protected the lake from regular human contact, preserving a landscape that feels sealed off from surrounding time. From an aerial perspective, Pisupok immediately unsettles expectation. The lake forms a near-perfect circle, an organic shape so precise it resembles an eye embedded in the earth. Natural lakes rarely achieve this degree of symmetry. The effect is heightened by the surrounding rock walls, which rise sharply around the water, enclosing it like a natural fortress and reinforcing the sense of containment. The water itself is remarkably transparent. In calm conditions, stones, submerged plants, and aquatic life are visible several feet below the surface, unobscured by sediment or algae. Light penetrates deeply, and as it shifts throughout the day, the lake's color transforms. Morning brings bright emerald tones. By midday, the surface turns sapphire blue. Toward evening, darker shades emerge, reflecting the encircling cliffs rather than the sky. The lake does not hold a single identity. It responds constantly to light and angle. Unlike lakes shaped by rivers or glacial retreat, Paisupok feels static. There is no visible inlet or outlet disrupting its form. The water appears still, almost watchful. Sound travels poorly across the surface, and the surrounding cliffs block wind, creating an unnatural calm that amplifies even minor disturbances. For local communities, Lake Paisupok is more than a geological feature. It is regarded as a sacred site, woven into oral traditions passed down through generations. Stories describe the lake as a place of presence rather than residence, somewhere to approach with caution and respect. While modern science explains its formation through long-term geological processes, these narratives persist, not in opposition to explanation, but alongside it. What makes Paisupok feel impossible is not danger or scale, but precision without intention. The lake appears designed, yet no designer exists. Its symmetry, clarity, and isolation combine to create a space that feels less like a landscape and more like a symbol, one that resists intrusion. Lake Paisupok does not overwhelm. It does not announce itself. It simply exists, complete and contained, reminding us that some of Earth's most unsettling places are not chaotic, but exact. Rising from the Wuling Mountains of southwestern China, Mount Fanjing stands apart, not through height alone, but through isolation. At approximately 8,432 feet above sea level, the mountain exists as a biological and geological enclave, separated from surrounding ranges by deep valleys that have limited movement for millions of years. This separation allowed the mountain to evolve on its own terms. The slopes of Mount Fanjing support an unusually dense and layered ecosystem. More than 2,000 plant species grow here, alongside over 400 animal species, many of them endemic. Among the most notable is the Guizhou snub-nosed monkey, a rare primate found nowhere else on Earth. Survival at this altitude demands specialization, and life on Fanjing adapted slowly, shielded from outside competition by terrain rather than distance. What defines the mountain visually is its summit. Known as the Golden Summit, the peak splits into two narrow rock pinnacles, divided by a deep vertical fissure. Each pinnacle supports a temple, perched with such precision that they appear impossible to anchor. A narrow stone bridge spans the gap between them, suspended high above the clouds. When mist rolls in, the bridge disappears, leaving the structures seemingly disconnected from the earth below. These formations are not the result of construction, but of time. Millions of years of tectonic uplift, followed by relentless weathering, fractured the rock along natural fault lines, carving the summit into its current form. Erosion removed what was weak, leaving behind what could endure. The result feels intentional, yet it is purely geological. Access to the summit reinforces its separation. The ascent involves steep stairways carved directly into the mountain, climbing through shifting climate zones where temperature, vegetation, and visibility change rapidly. At higher elevations, air thins and sound diminishes. The landscape feels reduced to stone, cloud, and silence. Mount Fanjing has long been regarded as sacred, not only for its temples, but for its resistance to occupation. It was never settled, never transformed into farmland or fortress. Instead, it remained a place of approach rather than control. What makes Mount Fanjing feel impossible is balance. It is both fragile and enduring, crowded with life, yet profoundly isolated. In a world where connection usually defines survival, Fanjing stands as proof that separation can shape complexity, creating a mountain that exists less as terrain and more as a self-contained system. At the summit of Mount Kelimutu on the island of Flores, three lakes sit side by side, close enough to share the same crater rim, yet different enough to appear unrelated. Each lake holds a distinct color, ranging from turquoise and emerald to rust red, dark brown, or nearly black. Unlike seasonal changes seen elsewhere, these colors shift without warning, sometimes altering dramatically within months, weeks, or even days. The phenomenon is not optical illusion, it is chemical. Beneath the lakes, geothermal activity constantly releases volcanic gases into the water. These gases interact with dissolved minerals, iron, manganese, sulfur, triggering oxidation and reduction reactions that alter the lake's pigmentation. Changes in rainfall, temperature, and gas pressure subtly adjust this balance, ensuring that no color state remains permanent. What makes Kelimutu unsettling is not just variation, but synchrony, without uniformity. The lakes sit only meters apart, exposed to the same weather, the same altitude, the same sunlight, yet they behave independently. One may brighten, while another darkens. One may remain stable, while the third transforms entirely. The landscape refuses consistency. The volcano itself rises to approximately 5,377 feet above sea level, modest in height, but extreme in character. The summit is often wrapped in fog, and visibility can collapse within minutes. When clouds part, the lakes appear suddenly, vivid against the muted stone, like exposed cores rather than surfaces. Sound carries poorly here. Wind dominates. The air smells faintly of minerals. For local communities, Kelimutu has never been understood as purely physical. Traditional belief holds that the lakes are destinations for souls after death, each lake receiving a different kind of spirit. These interpretations persist not as folklore frozen in the past, but as living context, shaping how the site is approached and respected. Indonesia has designated Kelimutu a national park, recognizing its rare geological and cultural value. Though once proposed for World Natural Heritage status, its greatest protection comes from its instability. Nothing here can be preserved in a fixed state. Documentation ages quickly. Photographs expire. Kelimutu feels impossible because it resists memory. You cannot return to the same place twice, even if you stand on the same ground. The lakes change while you watch, reminding us that some landscapes are not defined by form, but by process. Clinging to a sheer cliff face in Turkey's Pontic Mountains, Sumela Monastery appears less constructed than embedded. Perched at an elevation of roughly 4,000 feet above sea level, the complex seems to emerge directly from the rock wall, suspended between forest canopy below and empty air beyond. From a distance, it is difficult to separate architecture from geology. Stone becomes structure. Structure becomes cliff. Founded in the 4th century, Sumela was never meant to dominate its surroundings. Instead, it adapted to them. The monastery follows the natural recesses of the mountain, expanding inward rather than outward. Rooms, chapels, corridors, and stairways are carved into the vertical face, creating a layered interior that feels hidden rather than exposed. Even now, much of the complex remains invisible until the final approach. Access reinforces this sense of separation. Reaching Sumela requires navigating a steep forest path, where dense vegetation gradually gives way to bare rock. The climb narrows perception. Sound fades. The valley drops away behind you. By the time the monastery comes fully into view, the modern world already feels distant, filtered out by altitude and effort. Inside, the walls are covered with faded frescoes, biblical scenes painted directly onto stone. Time has stripped their color unevenly, leaving fragments rather than images. These remnants feel appropriate. Sumela was never a place of permanence, but of withdrawal. It existed to reduce distraction, not accumulate presence. The monastery's location was not chosen for defense or visibility. It was chosen for isolation. Sheer cliffs provided protection without fortification. Height replaced walls. The mountain itself became the barrier. For centuries, monks lived here with minimal contact beyond the valley, sustained by narrow paths and controlled access. Mist frequently rolls across the cliff face, temporarily dissolving the monastery into cloud. In these moments, the structure appears detached from gravity, floating rather than anchored. The effect is brief but disorienting. Architecture stripped of context, reduced to silhouette and shadow. Surreal feels impossible because it violates expectation. Buildings are meant to stand on ground, not cling to voids. Yet here, human construction did not conquer the mountain. It submitted to it. The monastery endures not because it reshaped the land, but because it learned how to disappear into it. Rising abruptly from the dry plains of central Myanmar, Mount Popa appears less like a mountain and more like an intrusion. Its steep, isolated form stands in stark contrast to the surrounding lowlands, an extinct volcanic plug thrust upward and left behind, while the landscape around it flattened and faded. From a distance, it resembles a stone tower rather than a natural landmass. Mount Popa reaches approximately 4,980 feet above sea level, but its visual impact comes from separation, not height. The mountain is almost completely detached from nearby terrain, its slopes rising sharply without gradual transition. This isolation makes it impossible to approach casually. The mountain announces itself long before it is reached. At the summit sits a monastery complex, balanced on the narrow crest like a deliberate contradiction. Gold roofs and white structures crown bare rock, transforming the peak into both a physical and spiritual landmark. Access is strictly vertical. Visitors must climb over 700 steps, ascending exposed stairways that spiral along the rock face. The climb filters in tension. Every step demands commitment. Along the ascent, the mountain asserts its own order. Troops of long-tailed macaques inhabit the stairways, moving freely across railings and ledges. They are not incidental wildlife. They are part of the experience, unpredictable, territorial, and fully adapted to the terrain. The presence of animals reinforces the sense that humans here are guests, not owners. Mount Popa is revered as the dwelling place of the 37 Nat spirits, powerful figures in Myanmar's pre-Buddhist belief system. These spirits are not abstract symbols. They are treated as active presences, forces capable of influence, protection, and disruption. Even as Buddhism later integrated into local culture, Nat worship remained inseparable from the mountain. Two belief systems coexist, anchored to the same stone. The air at the summit feels different. Wind moves freely. Heat from the plains below dissipates quickly. Visibility expands in every direction, revealing an environment stripped of softness. There is no shelter beyond the structures themselves. The mountain offers no comfort, only position. Mount Popa feels impossible because it occupies a singular role. It is not part of a range, not buffered by terrain, not softened by vegetation. It stands alone, rising sharply from emptiness, supporting belief, architecture, and life on a surface that should not allow them. In doing so, it becomes more than a mountain. It becomes a marker where geology, isolation, and faith converge into one vertical boundary. The Danakil Depression exists below sea level, yet it feels closer to the Earth's interior than its surface. Located in northeastern Ethiopia, this region drops to nearly 100 meters beneath sea level, forming one of the lowest and most hostile landscapes on the planet. Here, the ground is not stable. It breathes, cracks, bubbles, and burns. The terrain is defined by color that feels unnatural. Vast fields of sulfur, yellow, toxic green, rust red, and chalk white spread across the ground in irregular patterns, created by the crystallization of minerals such as sulfur, iron, salt, and potassium. These colors are not decorative. They signal extreme chemistry. The air carries a sharp, sulfurous odor that irritates lungs and eyes, making prolonged exposure physically taxing. Danakil sits at the junction of three tectonic plates, the African, Arabian, and Somali plates, slowly pulling apart. This rifting process allows magma to rise unusually close to the surface, heating groundwater and creating boiling acid springs, fumaroles, and shallow lava lakes. Volcanic activity here is not occasional, it is constant, shaping the land in real time. Temperatures in Danakil regularly exceed 120 degrees Fahrenheit, 49 degrees Celsius, even without direct sunlight. Heat radiates upward from the ground, compounding exhaustion. There is almost no shade, no fresh water, and no refuge from exposure. Human presence is limited, not by distance, but by tolerance. Survival becomes a calculation measured in minutes rather than hours. Yet, life persists. Microbial organisms thrive in these acidic, high-temperature pools. Forms of life adapted to conditions once thought impossible. Their resilience has drawn scientific attention from around the world. Researchers study Danakil as an analogue for early Earth and even for extraterrestrial environments, including Mars, where similar chemical conditions may exist. For centuries, local Afar communities have crossed parts of this terrain to harvest salt, navigating heat and toxicity with methods refined over generations. Their routes are narrow, deliberate, and seasonal, proof that even in extreme environments, adaptation can occur without domination. Danakil is often called the gateway to hell, but the name understates its significance. This is not a place of myth. It is a live demonstration of planetary mechanics, where Earth reveals processes usually hidden deep underground. The Danakil Depression feels impossible because it removes comfort entirely. There is no balance here, no negotiation. The environment operates by its own rules, indifferent to presence. Standing in Danakil is not an experience of travel. It is a confrontation with heat, chemistry, and the raw mechanics of the planet itself. Just outside the city of La Paz, the Valley of the Souls rises unexpectedly from the high Bolivian plateau, forming a landscape that feels detached from its surroundings. Known locally as Valle de las Animas, the valley is composed of hundreds of sharp, vertical rock spires clustered tightly together, creating the impression of a petrified forest made not of trees, but of stone. These formations were shaped over millions of years by water erosion, acting on volcanic and sedimentary rock, slowly carving narrow channels that deepened into towering columns. What remains are thin, blade-like pillars, separated by tight corridors and sudden drops. From certain angles, the spires appear to lean inward, amplifying the sense of enclosure despite the open sky above. The valley sits at an elevation of over 12,400 feet, where air pressure drops noticeably. Even slow movement can strain breathing, especially for visitors unaccustomed to altitude. Wind moves aggressively through the narrow gaps between columns, generating low, hollow sounds that echo unpredictably. It is this phenomenon that inspired the valley's name. The wind passing through stone creates tones that locals long associated with spirits or voices. Vegetation here is minimal and specialized. Only hardy, drought-resistant plants survive in pockets of soil trapped between rock walls. The ground is dry, unstable, and uneven, offering little traction. There are no clear paths. Navigation depends on careful footing and constant awareness of vertical edges, hidden just beyond view. Light transforms the valley throughout the day. In the morning, long shadows exaggerate the height of the columns, making them appear taller and closer together. At midday, harsh sunlight flattens detail, turning the rock into a dense mass of pale gray. By evening, warm tones return, and the spires take on a sculptural quality, as if rearranged by the angle of the sun. Despite its proximity to an urban center, the Valley of the Souls remains largely undeveloped. There are no barriers, no extensive infrastructure, no attempt to soften its contours. The environment is allowed to remain exposed and unresolved. The Valley of the Souls feels impossible because it creates psychological pressure rather than physical danger. The landscape compresses space, sound, and movement into something unfamiliar. It does not overwhelm with scale or violence. Instead, it unsettles. Through form stone shaped so narrowly and precisely, that it feels as though the land itself is watching, listening, and waiting for you to pass through. Cut deep into the mountains of northwestern Yunnan, Tiger Leaping Gorge is not immediately visible. It reveals itself through sound. First, the continuous, low thunder of water forced through stone. The Jinsha River, an upper reach of the Yangtze, is compressed here between two massive ranges, carving one of the deepest gorges on Earth with a vertical drop of nearly 12,500 feet from peak to river. The scale is difficult to register at ground level. Sheer rock walls rise almost vertically, narrowing the sky into a thin strip of blue. From the riverbank, the mountains feel impossibly tall. From the trails above, the water below looks unreal, too far away to be moving, yet loud enough to dominate the air. Distance and sound no longer align. The gorge's name comes from a local legend. A tiger, trapped by hunters, is said to have escaped by leaping across the river at its narrowest point, roughly 80 feet wide. Whether true or not, the story persists because it matches the landscape's logic. Everything here feels compressed, accelerated, and extreme. Space behaves differently. Seasonal change amplifies the effect. During the rainy months, from June to September, snowmelt and monsoon rains swell the river. Water levels rise sharply and rapids become violent, creating whirlpools and standing waves that collide with exposed rock. The river does not flow smoothly, it fights its way forward. Despite its brutality, life clings to the gorge walls. Narrow terraces carved centuries ago still support crops in seemingly impossible positions, evidence of long-term human adaptation rather than conquest. Villages remain perched along the upper edges, connected by trails that cut across cliffs where a single misstep carries consequence. Technology fades quickly here. Cellular signals weaken or disappear entirely. Weather changes without warning. Clouds descend suddenly, obscuring peaks and erasing orientation. The gorge does not trap physically, but it isolates perceptually. Once inside, the outside world feels theoretical. Tiger Leaping Gorge is protected as part of the UNESCO-listed Three Parallel Rivers region, recognized for its geological complexity and ecological diversity. Yet protection does not soften it. The landscape remains active, eroding, shifting, reshaping itself continuously. Tiger Leaping Gorge feels impossible because it compresses verticality and force into a single corridor. There is no balance here, only tension between water and rock, gravity and resistance. Standing within it, the human body feels temporary, tolerated only because the gorge is busy doing something far larger than noticing who passes through. South of the Peruvian city of Arequipa, Colca Canyon opens gradually, revealing its scale in layers rather than impact. At first, the land appears folded terraces, stepping down hillsides, villages balanced on ridges, rivers hidden from view. Only later does the full depth emerge. Colca plunges to nearly 10,700 feet, making it one of the deepest canyons on Earth, exceeding even the Grand Canyon in vertical distance. The canyon was shaped by a combination of tectonic uplift and relentless river erosion, a slow excavation driven by the Colca River as the Andes rose around it. Unlike younger canyons defined by raw edges, Colca feels worn and inhabited. Its walls are steep, but not empty. Thousands of pre-Incan agricultural terraces still line the slopes, some continuing in use today. Stone, soil, and altitude were negotiated long before modern engineering existed. At dawn, the canyon reveals its most iconic presence. Andean condors, among the largest flying birds on the planet, with wingspans exceeding 10 feet rise on thermal currents that lift effortlessly from the canyon floor. Their movement is silent and deliberate. They do not circle for display. They drift, using the canyon's depth as an engine. Watching them redefines scale. The birds are enormous, yet the space contains them easily. Life here adapts vertically. Temperatures and vegetation shift rapidly with elevation. The canyon rim can feel cool and dry, while the depths below trap heat. Crops vary by altitude: quinoa, maize, and potatoes, cultivated at precise levels where soil and climate align. This stratification creates a landscape that is productive but fragile, balanced carefully against erosion and exposure. Despite its depth, Kolka does not feel sealed off. Paths descend sharply, switchback after switchback, pulling travelers downward into increasingly isolated terrain. As elevation drops, sound changes. Wind softens. The river's presence grows louder. Distance from the rim becomes psychological as much as physical. What makes Kolka Canyon feel impossible is not violence, but continuity. The canyon is not abandoned. It is lived in, worked, and respected, even as it dwarfs those who depend on it. Human history here did not erase the land's scale, it adapted to it. Kolka is a reminder that extreme landscapes do not always reject human presence. Sometimes they absorb it quietly, while continuing to operate on timelines far beyond any civilization that clings to their edges. Chimborazo rises from the Ecuadorian Andes with a symmetry that feels deliberate, almost architectural. It is an extinct stratovolcano, its last eruption estimated to have occurred more than 1,500 years ago, yet its presence remains dominant. At 20,564 feet above sea level, Chimborazo is not the tallest mountain on Earth, but by a different measure, it is the most distant point from the planet's center. Because Earth bulges at the equator, Chimborazo's summit sits farther from the core than any other location on the surface. In geometric terms, it is the place closest to the sunday. This distinction is abstract, invisible, and impossible to feel directly, yet it changes how the mountain is understood. Height alone no longer defines scale. Shape and position matter just as much. The ascent reveals a landscape stripped to essentials. Lower slopes carry sparse vegetation and grazing land, but as elevation increases, life thins rapidly. Oxygen drops, temperatures fall, wind intensifies. Above a certain point, the mountain becomes a study in exposure. Dark volcanic rock, permanent ice, and sky. Movement slows not because of terrain, but because the body resists. Chimborazo's glaciers have long served as a critical freshwater source for surrounding communities. Meltwater feeds rivers and irrigation systems that sustain agriculture far below. But this balance is breaking. Rising global temperatures have accelerated glacial retreat, shrinking ice fields that once seemed permanent. Sections of the mountain that were ice-covered within living memory are now bare rock. The summit itself is rarely visible. Clouds form quickly around the peak, obscuring it for days at a time. When the sky clears, the mountain appears suddenly, its white cap sharply defined against deep blue. The effect is fleeting visibility as a privilege, not a guarantee. Despite its scale, Chimborazo does not intimidate through violence. There are no eruptions, no avalanches of sound. Its threat is quieter. Altitude sickness, exhaustion, cold. The mountain does not force retreat. It allows ascent only until the body decides otherwise. Chimborazo feels impossible because it reframes distance. Standing on its slopes, you are closer to space than anywhere else on Earth, yet farther from oxygen, warmth, and ease. It is a place where planetary geometry overrides human intuition, reminding us that even familiar concepts like highest depend on how you choose to measure the world. Flowing silently through the heart of the Swiss Alps, the Etched Glacier is less a landscape than a moving archive. Spanning roughly 3,100 square miles within the Jungfrau Aletsch region, it is the largest glacier in the Alps, a continuous body of ice shaped not by seasons, but by accumulation, pressure, and time. From above, its surface appears braided and fractured, a frozen river bending through mountains that barely contain it. The glacier's scale is deceptive. At a distance, it looks calm, even static. Up close, its surface reveals deep crevasses, some plunging hundreds of feet, formed as the ice mass shifts and accelerates around bends in the valley. These cracks are not anomalies, they are evidence of motion. Aletsch is alive, advancing and retreating in slow increments that never stop. Ice here compresses centuries into layers. Snowfall compacts into firn, then into solid ice, trapping air bubbles and particles that record atmospheric conditions from the past. Scientists drill deep cores to read this history, using Aletsch as a reference point for understanding climate change across Europe. Measurements show that melt rates have accelerated beyond earlier projections, thinning the glacier and shortening its length year after year. The environment surrounding Aletsch reinforces its dominance. Steep rock walls funnel wind and shadow, keeping temperatures low even in summer. Vegetation halts abruptly at the ice's edge, replaced by bare stone and moraine rubble carried and deposited by the glacier's slow advance. Sound behaves differently here. Footsteps dull, voices dissipate. The ice absorbs presence. Access is controlled and deliberate. Viewing platforms and marked trails keep distance between visitors and the glacier's unstable zones. The risk is not dramatic collapse, but subtle failure, snow bridges that give way, surfaces that appear solid but are not. The glacier does not announce danger. It assumes awareness. What makes Aletsch feel impossible is not just its size, but its temporality. This is a feature that exists on a human timescale only briefly. Glaciers are slow to form and fast to vanish. What appears permanent is already in transition, retreating silently while being observed. Aletsch Glacier stands as a reminder that some of Earth's most powerful systems operate without spectacle. There is no eruption, no roar, only steady movement, recorded in millimeters per year, reshaping valleys and rewriting climate records as it goes. In the mountains of Chongqing, the land does not rise, it collapses. Xiaozhai Tiankeng, often called the Heavenly Pit, is the largest known sinkhole on Earth, plunging approximately 2,165 feet straight down into the crust. From the rim, the ground appears intact. Then it ends abruptly, opening into a vertical void so deep that depth perception fails. This sinkhole formed over millions of years as underground rivers dissolved thick layers of limestone beneath the surface. Eventually, the cavern roof could no longer support itself. Gravity completed what water began. The collapse did not create rubble or gradual slopes. It created a near-perfect drop, with sheer rock walls falling away in a single motion. What makes Shaozai Tiankeng unsettling is not just its depth, but its internal world. At the bottom of the pit, a completely separate ecosystem exists, isolated from the surface above. Dense vegetation grows in permanent shadow, sustained by moisture trapped within the chasm. Mist collects and circulates constantly, creating a cool, humid microclimate that contrasts sharply with conditions on the rim. Waterfalls cascade down the vertical walls, some free-falling for hundreds of feet before striking ledges and disappearing again into darkness. Sound echoes unpredictably. A falling stone does not strike immediately, it vanishes, and the impact arrives seconds later. Time stretches, scale becomes abstract. Access to the interior is extremely limited. Descending requires specialized equipment and planning. Even with preparation, conditions are unstable. Loose rock, sudden fog, and steep gradients make navigation dangerous. The pit does not accommodate presence. It allows it briefly under strict conditions. From above, clouds often drift directly across the opening, obscuring the void entirely. In these moments, the landscape appears normal again until the mist clears and the absence reasserts itself. The sinkhole feels less like a feature and more like a missing piece of terrain. Zhaozhai Tiankeng feels impossible because it reverses expectation. Mountains are meant to rise, valleys are meant to open gradually. Here, the land simply gives way. There is no transition, no warning slope, no invitation. Standing at the edge, the human body registers something unfamiliar. Not fear of falling, but awareness of scale beyond intuition. The pit does not threaten, it demonstrates. It shows how easily solidity can be temporary and how thin the surface really is beneath our feet. Just meters from the rocky shoreline of Egypt's Sinai Peninsula, the sea opens into a perfect circle of deep blue. The Dahab Blue Hole appears calm, almost inviting a sharp contrast to the shallow turquoise waters that surround it. From the surface, it looks like a window cut into the Red Sea, its edges clean, its center darkening rapidly into unknown depth. The hole descends between 330 and 390 feet, forming a near-vertical underwater shaft with no visible bottom from above. Its most infamous feature lies hidden below the surface: the Arch, a submerged tunnel that connects the blue hole to the open sea at roughly 180 feet deep. For experienced divers, it is a technical challenge. For the unprepared, it is fatal. Water pressure increases quickly, light fades, orientation becomes uncertain. The Arch tempts divers to swim horizontally at depths where nitrogen narcosis and oxygen toxicity distort judgment. Many who entered believed they were ascending only to descend further. This is why the site has earned its grim reputation as the diver's graveyard, with dozens of documented fatalities over the years. Yet the environment itself is not violent. Coral walls descend smoothly, layered with hard and soft corals that support dense marine life: butterfly fish, angelfish, reef sharks. The water is clear, often exceeding 30 meters of visibility, creating the illusion of safety. Danger here does not announce itself. It waits for miscalculation. What makes the Dahab Blue Hole particularly unsettling is its accessibility. Unlike most deep marine features, it lies only a short walk from shore. No boat is required, no long expedition. A diver can step from land directly into extreme depth within seconds. The transition from casual to critical is immediate. Local Bedouin communities have long respected the site, approaching it with caution rather than challenge. Modern diving infrastructure now surrounds it: markers, warnings, memorial plaques etched into stone. Names accumulate at the edge, reminders of how often beauty and risk overlap. The Dahab blue hole feels impossible because it disguises scale. From above, it is small. From within, it is vast. It collapses the distance between surface and abyss into a single breath. This is not a place defined by aggression, but by precision. One wrong angle, one incorrect assumption, one extra second at depth, and the environment asserts its limits. The blue hole does not pursue, it simply remains unchanged, while those who misjudge it are removed from the equation. Rising abruptly from the Tasman Sea, Ball's Pyramid looks less like an island and more like a vertical accident. This narrow rock spire climbs 1,844 feet above the ocean, while measuring only a few hundred feet across, making it one of the tallest and most isolated sea stacks on Earth. From any angle, it appears improbable, too steep, too thin, too exposed to exist for long. Ball's Pyramid is the remnant of an ancient volcano that last erupted around 7 million years ago. Over time, erosion stripped away the softer outer layers, leaving behind the hardened volcanic core. What remains is not a mountain, but its skeleton, a jagged ridge of rock rising directly from deep water, with no beach, no harbor, and no gentle slope. For most of modern history, the formation was believed to be lifeless. The cliffs seemed too sheer, the exposure too severe to support survival. That assumption collapsed in 2001, when scientists rediscovered the Lord Howe Island stick insect on a small vegetated ledge near the summit. Thought extinct for decades, the species had persisted unseen, confined to one of the most inaccessible places on the planet. Access to Ball's Pyramid is strictly limited. Climbing was long prohibited due to conservation concerns and extreme technical difficulty. Even now, ascents require special authorization, precise conditions, and advanced climbing expertise. The rock is sharp, often wet, and unforgiving. Wind and wave action isolate the spire completely, and weather can change faster than escape routes allow. The surrounding sea reinforces the sense of exposure. The ocean here is deep and restless, offering no visual boundary between the base of the pyramid and the abyss below. From the water, the structure looms overhead without reference points, distorting perception of height and distance. Ball's pyramid feels impossible because it occupies a narrow margin between endurance and collapse. It is too extreme to host civilization, yet capable of sustaining life in the smallest, most fragile forms. Too steep to approach casually, yet persistent enough to resist erosion for millions of years. It stands as a reminder that survival does not require space, only refuge, and that some of Earth's most dramatic structures are not meant to be entered, inhabited, or conquered, only acknowledged from a distance that respects their limits. On the island of Tanna, in the South Pacific nation of Vanuatu, Mount Yasur does not sleep, rising only 1,184 feet above sea level. It is modest in height compared to other volcanoes, but few on Earth are as consistently active. Yasur has been erupting almost continuously for centuries, releasing ash, gas, and incandescent lava with a regularity that feels less like catastrophe and more like routine. This is a Strombolian volcano, defined by frequent, moderate explosions rather than rare, violent eruptions. Several times an hour, glowing fragments of molten rock are launched into the air, arcing briefly before falling back into the crater. At night, these bursts illuminate the sky in flashes of red and orange, visible from miles away. The volcano has earned a simple name among locals and sailors alike: the natural lighthouse of the Pacific. What makes Mount Yasur exceptional is not just its activity, but its accessibility. A rough road leads close to the crater, allowing visitors to approach the rim without technical equipment. There is no long expedition, no multi-day ascent. The transition from calm ground to active volcanic edge happens quickly and deliberately, Access is restricted only when activity exceeds safety thresholds, reinforcing the sense that this is a place carefully monitored but never controlled. Standing near the crater, the ground vibrates subtly beneath your feet. Low rumbles precede each eruption, followed by sharp detonations that echo across the landscape. Heat radiates outward, carrying the metallic smell of volcanic gas. The volcano does not hide its mechanics. It announces them repeatedly, with no variation in intent. For the people of Tanna, Yasur is not a threat, it is a presence. Local belief holds the volcano as a site of spiritual power, a living entity rather than a hazard. Rituals and traditions acknowledge its role in shaping the land and the community, emphasizing coexistence rather than fear. Mount Yasur feels impossible because it inverts expectation. Volcanoes are usually defined by unpredictability and destruction. Yasur, by contrast, is defined by consistency. It erupts not to disrupt, but to persist. Here, fire is not an event, it is a rhythm. And in that rhythm, Mount Yasur reminds us that some of Earth's most volatile systems are not waiting to explode. They are already active, already balanced, and already beyond negotiation. These places were never meant to be destinations. They were not shaped for comfort, access, or permanence. Across deserts that freeze, mountains that remove oxygen, waters that erase orientation, and landscapes that collapse inward, the same pattern repeats. The further human presence fades, the more clearly the planet reveals its structure. Here, nature does not perform, it operates. Each of these locations exists at a boundary where geology overrides intention, where biology adapts in isolation, and where survival is granted only under precise conditions. There is no invitation to stay, only temporary allowance to observe. What makes these places feel impossible is not their danger, but their indifference. They do not respond to curiosity. They do not reward effort. They continue eroding, erupting, freezing, shifting, whether witnessed or not. In a world increasingly designed around human convenience, these regions remain unsimplified. They resist development. They resist familiarity. They remind us that Earth is not organized for occupation, but for process. These landscapes are not unfinished. They are complete without us. And that may be their most important message. Because the most unreal places on Earth are not those that look like another world, but those that prove this one was never built around human presence to begin with.